Time's a funny concept, isn't it? There's limitless timelines out there, infinite possibilities, but it makes you wonder if any of it matters. Why bother doing anything when every possible outcome already exists? There's no value to any of it, it's all one big joke. And it's enough to bring a man to madness. But I digress. As I often do. You've been my trusted assistant for all of 10 seconds. A rough approximation, but by no means inaccurate. So I feel like I can let you in on a little secret. Let it be forever known that our bond transcends the shackles of time. Now, I'm not one for hyperbole. I'm really not, but I've met enough fools thinking otherwise to warrant a reminder now and again. But after years of trudging through history in the name of research, I've come to the conclusion that the very fate of our reality rests solely in your hands. Can you believe it? And believe it you should, for doubt has no place here in our space. Are you familiar with the Dominazi? They're an organization that secretly silences technological advancements, true enemies of progress. Free energy suppression, perpetual motion machines, suspended animation. Well, disregard most of it, because I'm onto something with cold fusion and I need you focused. The, fusion of cold energy? Don't read into this, assistant. You'll throw my brilliance into question. If I can create a functioning prototype, I'll be the first human in history to create an unlimited energy source. Power beyond our wildest dreams. The world, no, the very universe will know my name. Simon! A true title worthy of science. Unfortunately, I've crunched the numbers and my odds of success are 0. On this timeline. Through the dimensional rifts I've ripped through time, I've been able to observe parallel realities and come to a few realizations. As it turns out, my greatest shortcoming on this thread was being a lonely single man. It stands to reason that my aversion to social interactions has garnered me no pals or paramours, but like any scientist worth their salt, I have no regrets. You got time, right? Of course, I needn't have asked. As my assistant, you're obligated to have nothing but time. Allow me to explain my predicament with a little pre-mission exposition. Dry lectures are the soul of science, as you know. Since I didn't date Isabel and fall into family life, Isabel is a fellow force in the field of time travel. She's certainly no sheep from what I've gathered, but I see her as nothing more than competition when it comes to grant applications. Hardly a foundation for a fruitful relationship. I don't know how I did it on other timelines. My recklessness was elevated by 32%, thereby putting me on a path where the Dominazi dogs catch my scent 13 years earlier than the universal average. I'm pretty close to the curve in the grand scheme of things. Some Simons have been caught right out of the gate. Others are being captured or killed at this very moment. If I had demonstrated 5% more caution the day I secured my third reactor coil, an improbable goal as far as I'm concerned, and 14% more patience when I procured documents on cryogenics, which proved to be a complete and utter waste, I'd have time to course correct and continue my mission with a lead of 20 years. I'd be among the leading Simons in our neighboring timelines. If my estimates are correct, though, the Dominazi will have me sniffed out by week's end. 8 days if I'm lucky. There's no escape now. Even if I were to pack my bags tonight and hightail it out of town, they'd find me. They're a tenacious bunch when it comes to crushing genius such as mine. And while I could let myself be consumed with dread and lament my imminent destruction at their hands, I prefer to be an optimist. Because optimism is how the doomed deal with defeat. Many incarnations of myself will reap the rewards of our identical pursuits. I've seen it. Every utterance of my name will be met with praise when my cold fusion generators make their way to market. They'll host parades in the streets. But not for me. I'm set on a path that won't pan out, destined to die in obscurity. The only Simon within our conceivable range to rip dimensional rifts through reality's thin veil, subject to death's premature whims. Doom and gloom aside, there's no time like the present. Go observe my paramount genius in our parallel dimensions and share what I've done here. The secrets of time travel must be relayed to another Simon. My legacy depends on it. I'd gladly do it myself, but it'd be catastrophic for me to up and disappear from various timelines. If I were to make a jump, the Simon overwritten on my arrival would spontaneously combust an hour or so after I leave. The same could be said for your counterparts, but, well, you're not the one who'd need to develop time travel after your departure. I'm sure the other Simons will understand if their assistants perish, but it'd serve as valuable intel too. You understand, right? This is why I kept you by my side all these seconds. I'm proud to say I've nurtured you into a dimensional proxy worthy of Simon Unlimited. That's the name of our esteemed organization. Do you like it? It's a portmanteau of science and Simon. Truly my brilliance knows no bounds. Now, here's how it'll work, Assistant. Listen well. Whenever you notice me do anything of note, just flip reality's switch and follow whatever route you think looks right. I'm sure you'll notice the opportunities, don't sweat it. There's only so far I can send you though, so you'll just be exposed to a few variants on your journey. Nothing overwhelming. The odds of you becoming lost in time are just a few decimal places above 0%. In the realm of possibility, but unlikely enough for you to throw caution to the wind. Think of it like flipping through the channels on an old cable television set. You've experienced the thrill of cable television, have you not? Excellent. This analogy will serve you well. Every option will look boring or pointless, but you'll settle on something just to see what comes next. And although you know the plane of programming is vast, your lousy service only grants you access to a few channels. Life is nothing if not cruel. I'd love to send you out for a few years to spread word of my accomplishments to every Simon within our reach, but the fabric of time will crumple if you don't come back fast enough. Like an old, worn-out sock. Visualize it, Assistant. Fate dictates that this must be a short excursion. When you're away on different threads, tell whoever you encounter that Simon 5100 served science in a most respectable manner, but couldn't complete a functioning cold fusion generator before the end. That's my personal designation. It'd be presumptuous to label myself Simon 0001. Fun fact, Simon 0001 managed to win a massive jackpot a few years ago, but was murdered and robbed by some jealous locals a couple days later. Haven't bought a lottery ticket since. So I counted upward from the first Simon I observed until finding one similar enough that I felt comfortable slipping myself into the lineup. That near identical match was the ever delightful Simon 5099. He's also dead. And be sure to show them these research papers. Everything regarding my time travel research can be found within them. They'll illustrate the intricacies of the process to my fellow Simons better than anything else. Their delivery is the whole point of this mission. I'll also be expecting a report of your results the moment you return. No rest for the weary, as you know. I think that about covers it. Wait, that's a lie. If you find yourself performing any experiments, don't let any Simons use Formula 5. It may seem like a suitable substitute for palladium, but that stuff will melt your face clean off when it fuses to hydrogen. I've watched it happen 1,000 times over, and I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, we should be good. You're all set to be the first human to travel through time. If my projections are to be trusted, there's a 56% chance you'll be able to jump to different timelines, 38 that time travel won't work, and a meager 8 for the possibility your atoms will be scattered across the dimensional void between threads. I, for one, like our odds. Now, if you'll excuse me for a moment, I'm gonna go sit down. I'm gonna go stand around. I'm gonna go work on the cold fusion prototype. I'm gonna go sit down. My legs are feeling a little stiff, but such is the penalty for their service. And I dare say, nothing feels better than resting weary bones. Are you still here? You definitely missed a chance to jump. Don't worry about it though, other opportunities will present themselves. We can't sit here forever after all. We can't stand here forever after all. We can't sit here forever after all. Although you may very well prove me wrong at this rate. You know how many years I've been researching cold fusion? About 6 now. A decade. About 6 now. For the first year, I denied it was possible, drifting in and out of research without much focus or facts in its favor. Much of the second year was spent angry and frustrated. I had enough information to feasibly assemble a functional prototype, but it just wasn't working no matter how hard I tried. Things changed by the third year, though. I managed to stumble on the secret of time travel, which at that point was just a side project to keep my mind distracted and pay the bills. Isabel be damned, those grants are great. I'd be living large if it weren't for competition like her. Before long, I learned how to rip open dimensional windows and look at the possibilities hidden behind them. But that's also when I discovered the Dominazi, how they hunt down creations like my cold fusion prototype, snuffing out promising projects before they see the light of day. The things I saw. There may be infinite divergent threads, but the ones within reach all have horrible ends. The only difference is how they manifest and how long they take to execute. But I digress, as you're no doubt familiar. I began evaluating the different threads, looking for where I could buy more time, bargaining with mortality as the Dominazi drew closer. By the fourth year, I realized it was hopeless. Other Simons accomplished the task and were never discovered, but I spent too long trying to fight fate instead of taking action into my own hands. I became a passive observer of my own life. Once the fifth year rolled around, I accepted what was coming. I dedicated myself to developing a means to send a person between timelines, in whatever capacity was possible, so I could share what I knew with the Simons that would outlive me. And it looks like I failed. And it looks like I succeeded! And it looks like I failed. If only I knew my years were better served strictly in the pursuit of time travel. But that probably wouldn't have made a difference. I've watched Simons fail that way too. Achieving time travel on our thread was nothing more than wishful thinking. We just had to face facts. You couldn't jump. Why else would you have stayed on this doomed path? My research failed us and now it's over. Can you live with that? I guess it's easy to dismiss when you're not the one in danger. Except you're a target too! Since you spent time in my lab and saw my projects, you'll also be deemed a threat to them. Now can you still live with it, knowing we're both dead? Figured that would change your tune. Sorry I had to burst your bubble. Not really though. You've exposed yourself as a self-centered jerk. I was going to leave you out of the loop until the last second, just in the event everything worked out and an escape plan was established. But now I want you to feel invested in our defeat. Don't look at me like that. I'm not above being petty. Now I guess we just wait out the clock. You know, I've watched myself die more times than I can count, and I've seen this sort of scenario play out at least 100 times now. Do you want to know what'll happen to us when the Dominazi arrive? Good call. But I'm gonna tell you anyway. If I have to know, so do you. They'll either melt our skin off with acid, flay our limbs until we bleed out, or boil us from the inside. And more often than not, they pair our execution with a thorough brain scrubbing to clean every last piece of our knowledge. You'd be surprised to know that's actually the worst part. You scream the loudest during that one. I don't know about you, but I'd like to avoid all of those scenarios, so I'm going to keep tinkering to solve this time travel issue. We need to send you off. While I do that, make yourself useful and watch the clock. Count us down to the end. About 7 or 8 days, if you'll recall. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Any day now. I'm gonna go work on the cold fusion prototype. Actually, I could use some assistance. Would you mind? Much appreciated, assistant. I can always count on you. If my hypothesis is correct, we have one last tweak before we've mastered unlimited energy. We're sitting at the very cusp of greatness. Bask in its glow with me, assistant. Take in all of its radiance. We need to apply Formula 5. I've heard it can be unstable, but it might just be the solution we need for our palladium shortages. Think it's worth a shot? You're probably right. Why go for something unreliable when we can just wait? I remember taking the cheaper route back when I was working on an old neutron cannon. It was a commission I took on for the military. If you haven't dabbled in a little mad science at least once in your life, you haven't lived as a true scientist. It didn't go too well. Suffice to say, my old assistant had a comprehensive retirement package, and they didn't live to see it. Best to learn from past mistakes rather than repeat them. Besides, with palladium shortages serving as our only roadblock, we've all but accomplished our goal. Good hustle, assistant. We've developed an unlimited energy source that's only a few tons of palladium shy of true mastery. It feels good knowing I chose the right avenue to pursue. Leave the dead ends to Isabel. My eternal rival is off somewhere trying to figure out time travel and soaking up grants like a sponge. But now what do we do? Have any suggestions buried in that suspicious stack of papers under your arm? I figured. Would be nice though. Guess there's only one thing left to do. Ready our defenses! Now that we've hit a significant milestone, the Dominati are sure to be hot on our heels. I sorta slipped up with them a few years ago. Without considering the possible ramifications, I hosted a public demonstration of the cold fusion prototype. The reception was incredible, might I add. But as you'd imagine of an organization who seeks out and destroys technological advancements, the Dominati flocked to me like moths catching sight of a distinguished lamp. The added flair is necessary. I'm no run-of-the-mill lamp assistant. Give me some credit. At the time, I didn't know who they were. I didn't even know their group existed. But a few months later, I started to notice their surveillance and traced it back to them. In a way, being discovered and learning about them was good. Granted, they wouldn't have found me if I just stayed quiet until the work was finished, but I'd also never know they'd be coming later. I could have launched a cold fusion generator one day and been assassinated without knowing why. Now when they strike, I'll know they were coming. Which is good, I guess. Assistant, listen. Did you hear that? Shh. Well, what do you know? Speak of the devil and he shall appear. I'm by no means religious, but the Dominati are as close to the definition of devils as they come. Don't just stand there, assistant. Doc! Yeah? You're finished! Wow, that was some skirmish. I've never had to fend off an intruder like that before. Grab a mop, assistant. We need this floor spotless. We can't miss a single drop of blood. We can't miss a single drop of ice cream. That's the way. Keep it up. Just a little more. Perfect. Excellent work, assistant. We staved off a serious mess. Never have I seen such graceful mopping. Truly a commendable performance. I swear, this is the last time I welcome ice cream into the lab. What am I saying? I can't stand by that declaration. It's just too sweet of a treat. I have a problem and you've done nothing but enable it. We'll just have to be more careful in the future and watch our intake. You'll be in charge of that, assistant. Count every creamy calorie moving forward. Speaking of the future, Isabel should be on her way soon. My darling wife. She's been researching the theoretical field of time travel while I've been working to perfect my cold fusion prototype. You should probably hightail it out of here before she arrives. She'll be jealous to discover that I have an assistant. Developing an unlimited energy source takes priority over time travel, after all, for my research is grounded firmly in the realm of reality. Before I send you out the door, is there anything you'd care to share? Those papers on your person, perhaps? Very good. Put the mop down and pass me those papers. I'll review them with haste. Now let's see here. These notes. Spill the beans, assistant. Are these to be trusted? So time travel is actually possible? So you're not really my assistant. You come from a different timeline helping a different Simon. This is all a little overwhelming. I thought time travel was the stuff of fiction. Clearly there were other variations of me that thought otherwise and proved me wrong. Unfortunately, time is working against us with Isabel's imminent arrival, so we'll have to discuss this later. Until then, get out of my house! Perhaps that was a touch too harsh. Could you please remove yourself from the premises? Thanks, assistant. We'll definitely take a deeper look at these timely discoveries tomorrow. Don't look at me like that. I just delivered a quality pun and you know it. Wait! Don't go out there! I can hear Isabel at the door. It would appear we took too long to disband. Well, there's only one solution before us, assistant. Steel yourself. Yeah! Okay, don't be mad. I'm sensing a little animosity. If you could please quell it, assistant, that would be helpful. All I did was douse you in a chemical cooling agent. Relax, it's experimental. Science in its purest form. It'll cryogenically freeze your tissue so I can store you away for a few hours. I'll admit, there's 1,000 other ways I could have went about hiding you, but I couldn't pass up a chance to experiment. One should never turn their back on science, assistant. Technically, I've never restored someone from being frozen in this manner before, but there's a first time for everything. Should it work out, I'll wake you up once Isabel leaves and I've had a chance to thoroughly review these notes. And if it doesn't work out, I can just travel back in time and bring you back, right? I haven't read much of these notes yet, but I'm sure that'll work. And by sure I mean uncertain but hopeful. But in case you don't wake up from this and my attempts at rescue fail, thanks again for these notes. I'm sure the Simon who sent you here would be proud of your performance. Okay, looks like you're almost frozen. Here's what'll happen now. You'll be numb and lifeless for what'll feel like 3 seconds, but then you'll wake up. Good as new. Even better than new if my calculations are correct. And it looks like the freezing's finished. See you soon, assistant.